Good day, my name is Conor McMillen. It's great to have you here. You can check out more information on internal family systems at our website, internalfamilysystems.org. So this video is going to be about the 6 F's of IFS. So perhaps this is just something that you heard of and you Googled it and you got this video, or perhaps it's something that you kind of know about and you either want to know more about it in your practice with your IFS professional, therapist, or coach, or it's something you want to learn about so that you can implement it on yourself. And that's really what this channel is designed for. It is designed to encourage people to investigate IFS and to choose for themselves whether they want to start a practice on their own or do it with a therapist or an IFS-trained coach or some other IFS-trained professional. But at the end of the day, what I really want you to walk away with is a sense of empowerment that even if you do choose to work with an outside source, that ultimately you can learn some tools for yourself that are based in IFS that you can have for the rest of your life and that are truly going to help you and make a huge difference in your life. So I was trained in IFS back in 2014. I am a life coach. I do transformational coaching. I do leadership coaching. I work with a lot of different people, and I've been using IFS in my practice since my training in 2014. I used it a lot on myself and with a lot of other people. So everything that I share in this video is going to be based on my experiences, and also we're going to talk about this very clear protocol that IFS offers us, known as the 6 F's. So let's dive right in. The first F. So obviously when you're practicing IFS, what you're looking for is to engage with different parts of your system. And this is how we learn about ourselves, develop self-awareness, and ultimately bring compassion and healing energy to these parts that may otherwise be in a space of overwhelm or kind of running the show when we maybe don't want them to be running the show and they don't really want to be running the show either. So the very first F is find, and that is obviously about finding a part to engage with. So the interesting thing here in IFS is, although you can have an agenda, you can have an intention, you can sit down to practice IFS therapy, again, either with a trained professional or on your own, with a desired outcome. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you actually enter into the practice, we need to kind of release that to some degree and be really open to whatever part needs to be heard first. And so I always just say, you work with the part that's on top. You can have a desired goal. You can say, hey, I've been working with this one part. I would really like to access that part. And you can ask your system, can I just engage with this part? And maybe that part will be there and maybe some other part will be there. So it's not so much about, in my opinion, it's not so much about finding the part that you specifically want to work with, so much as finding the part that is most alive for you in the present moment. And once you find that part, then you can start engaging with that part. The next F is going to be the focus F, and this is about attuning your energy towards that part. There's different ways of practicing IFS. In this particular protocol, you're looking to find self-energy, and from that self-oriented space, you're engaging with these parts. So as much self-energy as you can have, and if you're unclear of what self-energy is, go back into my videos and find the video on understanding self, and you can learn more about that. So you're going to drop into a space of self-energy, you're going to find the part that's most alive, and then you're going to focus on it. And how we focus on it is we notice, where is it in the body? If it is showing up in the body, most of the time it is for most people. And how it feels, maybe what it's saying, maybe what it's thinking. But we are essentially letting it know, okay, we're here. I'm focusing on you. It's like if you and I sat down to have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or something, you know, we wouldn't sit down and you'd be like over here looking around the room. You would be engaging with me, you know? We're meeting each other. So this type of energy that you have relationally with other people is what you're going to bring into yourself when engaging with this part. The third F is flesh. That is referring to flesh it out. And again, you're sort of going through these questions. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How is it moving in my system? How is it affecting my system? What are the thoughts associated with it? What are the body sensations? What are the feelings that are associated with it? And you're just very gently filling out, you're kind of painting this part so that you can more highly engage with it. The fourth F is feel. This is a really important one. How do you feel towards this part? And this is like the most important question that we ask as IFS trained professionals. How do you feel towards that part? Because what we're looking for is calm, curious, compassionate. If it's calm, curious, compassionate, and angry, then we know that there's an angry part here. If it's calm, curious, compassionate, and urgent, then there's an urgent part here. Calm, curious, compassionate, resentful, there's a resentful part here. There's nothing wrong with these other parts being here, but what we want to make sure of is when we engage directly with this part that's, we're sitting down having a cup of coffee with, if we continue that analogy, that we're coming at that part from a really self-led place. So before taking the next step of engaging directly with this part, we want to ask ourselves, how do I feel towards this part? And if you notice anything but calm, curious, and compassionate, then most likely there's another part that's active. And what you want to do is turn your attention to that other part and ask very gently. Let it know, hey, I see you. I hear you. I feel that you're, let's say, angry. I feel your anger. I validate you. And also, I'd really love to spend some time getting to know this part. I think it would be really helpful for me, and I think it'd even be helpful for the whole system. And I would love it if you could trust me, and would you like to relax? And you can skip all that other stuff and just go to, would you like to relax? And this part, most of the time, for most people and in most situations, this part is able to relax. But sometimes it needs a little more validation. So you sat down here to have coffee with me, but then this other person comes in and is like, hey. Well, it's pretty hard to engage with me if someone else is tapping you on the shoulder the whole time trying to get your attention. So you have to turn to this other person, to this other part, and connect with this other part and say, hey, I'm trying to have coffee here with Conor. Really would love to engage with Conor. I can maybe spend time with you later. Do you want to relax a little bit? And you can even say to this part, you don't have to go away, and you're not doing anything wrong. But would you like to just kind of sit on the side and observe? And if you need anything, you can tap me on the shoulder again. So this part may need a few rounds of, would you like to relax? No. Okay, what else do you need? Okay, let me validate that. Okay, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. Okay, now would you like to relax? And eventually over time, most likely this part will relax. Sometimes, instead of sitting down to have coffee with me, you're going to notice that this other part of you needs more focus than I need. And so you're going to turn to this other part. I don't mean to be inserting myself into your parts system. I'm just trying to use a outside analogy so that you can make more sense of it when you communicate with your own system. So feel, you're looking to find calm, curious, compassionate, self-led energy when engaging with this part. So how do I feel towards this part? The fifth part of this process, once you've found your self-energy, you're going to be communicating with this part in front of you, and you're going to start asking questions. And the most important way to engage in this very organically and naturally is to pull on that curiosity. What are you genuinely curious about? So there's certain questions that are sort of like built into this protocol, and often that is looking to understand what this part's job is, its perceived job in your system. What is it doing for you, and why does it do that for you? But you don't have to ask that specific question. If you're curious in a really natural, organic way, and there's a question that's on top for you, again, making sure that question is coming from as much self-energy as you can possibly muster, then you can ask that. Some other questions that can be really, really helpful is to ask that part, how old are you? How old do you think I am? And in hearing that, if you get the response like, I think you're 14 and you're 44, something that's always phenomenal is to let that part know, I hear that you think I'm 14. You know, I'm actually 44. I'm actually 44. I'm 38, but I'm just using this as an example. I'm actually 44. How's that feel for you? And like, wow, that can really shift a part's energy pretty quick to realize that they have this adult ally behind them, because often parts may not have that knowledge. So anyhow, there are different questions that you can ask that are kind of built into the protocol. I would really encourage you to go with your natural curiosity, as long as it's coming from a place of calm, curious, and compassionate. And ultimately validating the part for the work that it's doing in your system, letting it know, as long as it's true and authentic for you, that you see it, you appreciate the work that it's doing. And then the next step is actually asking that part if it had the opportunity to do something else in your system. If it didn't have to do that job, what would it like to be doing? And that question is really cool, because what it's doing is it's setting up possibility without inferring that it has to do anything different. You're just setting up a space of hope for that part. And another perspective that it may have never even considered before. What? You mean if I didn't have to do this job? But I have to do this job, but I have to do this job. But if I didn't have to do this job? So this part's starting to change its way of viewing its own role in your system. And that moves us into the final F, which is fear. And asking this question, what's the concern? If you didn't do this job, what do you think would happen? What's the concern here? And in hearing the fear, again, this is all about hearing and validating. It's not about trying to manipulate and coerce or force our parts to change. Nobody likes that in the real world, and no parts of us respond well to that. What we all really, really want most of the time is to receive validation for how we're feeling. And through that process, we can very naturally and organically shift into a more centered, holistic perspective and way of living. I think that that's almost entirely true. The only times that this is not true is if someone asks you specifically, could you give me some advice on that? I could really use some direction. Do you have any directive feedback that you could offer me? Or if you have some directive feedback that you think is really valid, to make sure that you ask before just saying it. I'm hearing you and validate you. I'm seeing something, like I'm thinking that there might be some actions that could be really helpful for you. Would you like to hear those from me? And then making sure that when you speak those, that you're not claiming these are the ultimate truth. Because this person and this part, they both need their space to digest what you're saying, what you're offering them, and to feel like they have the freedom to decide whether that is true for them or not. Well, I hope that's a helpful video for you, whether, again, you're working with someone else or you're practicing IFS on your own. I think it's incredibly powerful to practice this stuff on your own, even if you are working with someone else. I think ultimately this is an incredible tool that you can put in your tool belt of self-care, self-growth, and you can use it for the rest of your life. We have an incredible program that teaches you how to become your own IFS therapist, guru, practitioner, whatever word you want to throw on it, how to lead yourself through these protocols in a really dynamic and healthful way. So come over to internalfamilysystems.org, check out the program, full money back guarantee. If you finish the program and feel like, you know what, this really didn't do it for me, we will absolutely give you your money back, because I am convinced that it is a life-changing program. So we'll see you over there, and subscribe to the channel. Feel free to leave a comment. We really appreciate any feedback so that we can keep doing a great job here.